Hello there. Welcome to Never Mind the Bullens. My name is Mike Peters. This is your weekly bite-sized Everton podcast and now VODCAST. It's technically episode 11, but in some ways it's episode 1. Firstly, because it's the first episode of a brand new football season and all the excitement that comes with that. And also, it's the first episode that we've done in both video and audio. So if you're listening to the podcast as normal, in your normal podcast place, then nothing really very much has changed. But if you're watching this, hello, because you can now see us as well as hear us. You can watch via our YouTube channel. Everything comes out of @NMTBpod on Twitter. You can message us through there and all the rest of it. The reason this podcast is a bit different, if this is the first time you're watching or listening to this, when I say bite size, it's never going to be more than 10 minutes. In fact, a lot of weeks it may well be shorter than that. Not this week, however. So it's one of those that you can listen to while you're making a cup of tea, while you're on a little short drive, while you're on your way to the gym, whatever you might be doing, sat on the loo. It's entirely up to you, but don't tell me if you're listening to this or watching this while you're sat on the toilet. I'd rather not know, thanks. Well, lots to talk about this week, so we'll use up our full 10 minutes if that's all right with you, because we've got to talk about Bramley Moore in a little while. Obviously, the first game of the season against Spurs coming at the weekend, and also our new signings as well, which is related to our first topic, which I'm going to revisit from something that we've talked about before. There's a bit of a theme that's developed about, and just a bit of a bugbear of mine, about journalists, pundits, commentators, and their general attitude towards Everton and their sort of just generally woeful research that they tend to do and sort of sweeping generalisations and very snotty attitude they have about the club. If you want to listen to more about this, then go and listen to some of the previous episodes. But there was a piece in The Guardian that I want to talk about a bit, which is written by a guy called Jonathan Wilson. Now, this is in their sport blog section. So, given that it's a blog, it's going to be more opinion-based, and that's fine. I've got no problem with hearing opinion. This is my opinion on anything. People are entitled to it. What I don't like is that people just spout opinions without any sort of backing it up with facts. And it's like, well, that's just nonsense then, isn't it? You know, we're delving into the realm of conspiracy theory then, aren't we? Just if you can say whatever you want without getting called out on it. He's written a piece which about James Rodriguez, and the byline to this is, the allure of players allowed to leave by the elite proves too great for a stepping stone club. So we're already off to the races here. But the Colombian's reunion with Carlo Ancelotti may be a gamble worth taking. So he's suggesting that, you know, the idea of signing Rodriguez is because, you know, his star has fallen somewhat. And I don't deny that if he was pulling up trees for Real Madrid or Bayern Munich or what have you, then Everton wouldn't get anywhere near him. Equally, if we didn't have Carlo Ancelotti as our manager, we wouldn't get near him either. I fully concede that. What I don't accept is this kind of idea that every club, and he name checks West Ham in this as well, are stepping stone clubs and no players can play for them at their peak. Because my argument with this is, well, you can say, well, every club at some point is a stepping stone club. Players come, players go. It's the natural evolution of a football team and a football club. New managers come in, new players come in. They have different philosophies. They want to change things. And Everton is no different to that. We've had players that have come through, Romelu Lukaku, John Stones, who've come through, for, you know, to name but two, who've then moved on to other clubs. We've had players that have come to us and gone the other way. Arguably, Gerard Deulofeu bounced around, done well at Watford, now maybe looking for a move as well. But some of the players that he name checks in terms of using Everton as a stepping stone, I'm not quite sure where he's got these ideas from. What he's suggesting is that Everton should be picking up players from, and I'm just going to sort of paraphrase a paragraph of this, players from mid-ranking leagues and clubs, midfielders from sort of the Bundesliga, which we've just done with Jean-Philippe Gbamin, not that we've seen him yet. Promising defenders, that type of thing. Well, we've done that. And then we try and sell them on for a profit at a later date. Now, we have had a track record of doing that. But some of the players, he says, but again and again, the allure of players allowed to leave by the elite proves too great, and so they end up with a squad populated by Theo Walcott, Moise Keane, Alex Iwobi, Gylfi Sigurdsson, Fabian Delph, and Luca Dean, most interestingly enough. Now, Luca Dean has moved, let's say, downwards in terms of club profile from Barcelona to Everton. I'm not going to deny that. Barcelona are a huge, huge club, one of the European elite without question. But I would absolutely argue that and with facts and stats to back me up to the hilt, that his career has progressed being at Everton. He's now become France's left back, which he wasn't before, and his career is now one of the best fullbacks, certainly in the Premier League, if not probably in Europe. So how, this is now a step down for him when actually his career has moved forward, I don't quite understand. Gylfi Sigurdsson came from Swansea. Now, all due respect to Swansea, Everton is a bigger club than Swansea. He was 28 when he made that move. It was a club record signing. And, that was his big move. Whether it's worked out for him, you can argue both ways. But I don't think necessarily Everton was a stepping stone to him going to somewhere else. I'm not convinced about that. Alex Iwobi needs a fresh start after his time at Arsenal. We're certainly equivalent in club size to Arsenal, maybe not in terms of media profile and certainly not in terms of stadiums, but, why are we not there? Yes, all right, they get European football and all the rest of it, but he's not been consistent at Arsenal, needed that consistency. He hasn't shown it yet for us, but nonetheless, Moise Kean, young player, raw, had to leave Juventus, not just for footballing reasons, but also for, obviously, personal reasons in terms of the abuse that he was getting there, which is a more endemic problem, and has come here to try and progress. Again, we've not seen the best of him yet, but that doesn't mean that we won't. Theo Walcott, all right, I will get that one. I'll concede that he is arguably, at his time at Arsenal, needs a fresh start, has had to move, but his career was on the wane well before he came to Everton. So, it's not as if it was absolutely a world beater when he was at Arsenal anyway. And you could argue with Theo that he's never fulfilled that potential, but it just speaks to a sort of a greater truth about a lot of journalism in terms of that they're very dismissive of Everton and other clubs as well, not just Everton. This is not just a woe is me bit, but that we're not allowed to have ambition. We're not allowed to try and want a challenge. We should just be happy where we are, and we leave the Liverpools and the Man Cities and the Chelseas and the United of this world. They have to sit at the top table, and we just get the table scraps that come down. It's just absolute nonsense, and I'm getting quite tired of it, as are many Evertonians who've pushed back on this particular article. Moving on to the topic of his article, James Rodriguez, what a signing. Now, even if he doesn't perform quite as much as we would want him to on the pitch in terms of whether we get the games that we want out of him, from a marketing point of view, it's a great bit of business for the club. The money that's been talked about in terms of a fee with him, around about 20 million quid, apparently it's a lot less than that. So say people in the know. And, he's a huge potential talent and could do a wonderful job for us. There's no doubt about that. And I think it's absolutely worth the risk because it will definitely open up Everton as a brand to the South American market even more. Because now we've got him, we've got Yerry Mina, we've got Bernard, we've got Richarlison and Allan as well. Fabulous signing, Allan as well, and Doucoure as well. It's great business that we've done there in terms of buying players that are going to make a real impact on the first team immediately. We hope. Talk again about Wilfried Zaha coming in. I'm not convinced about that. I think that's the rumour mill. But if we can do some sort of deal, one that somebody's mentioned is Cenk Tosun plus Yannick Bolasie plus some money for Zaha. If we could do that, brilliant. Okay, but I'm not quite sure if it's what we need in sort of right now. If it's not the sort of the absolute urgent need that we have, particularly given that the club's saying that we're not going to sign any more permanent transfers. It's going to be loans like Tomori from Chelsea and potentially strengthening at defence as well. Tomori, good player, certainly can do a job for us and provide some defensive cover, particularly at right back and at centre half as well, with Mason Holgate out for we don't quite know how long with his toe injury picked up against Preston. Obviously, first game on Sunday against Tottenham. I think we just need to put down a marker in terms of performance. I'm not worried about the results at this stage, but given how poorly we performed there after the restart, just as a marker of how far we've moved forward, even in that relatively short space of time, and the short close season is a massive thing for me. So we'll discuss the Tottenham game. Obviously, we'll review that in our next episode, which will be coming your way on Monday. Lastly, Bramley Moore, and specifically English Heritage, who obviously have trying to really put the kibosh on our scheme. I'm all for Heritage, and Liverpool is obviously full of it. But I don't quite see what they expect to achieve. What are they going to do by having a dock that's just there? A deprived part of the city that we potentially can be completely regenerated, jobs coming in, which we need, huge amounts of money, completely changing that part of the city. Surely common sense will prevail here. even though if it is going to be called in by the Secretary of State, I hope. I just don't understand what they're trying to do other than stymie the club or stymie any sort of progress. Don't quite get it. Anyway, that is it for this first vodcast of Never Mind the Bullens. If you want to get in touch, it's at NMTBpod, which you can see on your screen. Or you can email us as well, nmtbpod@gmail.com. Until next week, come on you Blues.